if you ask me to recite the monologue from 8 Mile, I
Yeah,
couldn't do it. I could probably do half of the monologue from Lord of the Rings because I saw that movie in the theater like
yeah.
probably like 5 times. And among all the other times I've seen it like just as a nerd, but it's more about the feeling
It's more about the feeling.
that grows inside of me when I hear it, and I can like the emotion that's behind the words through the expression of those words is palpable. So I don't know. I think people poetry is one of those things that is essential for our ability to not survive but to thrive as human beings.
Three things. The first, w- going back to what you mentioned about the two um, scenes from 8 Mile and Lord of the Rings, I actually created my own "Fall in Your Sword," so to speak. And if it's something I perform on stage, but the line work as it goes is sabotaging like a mirage, pushing to the forefront like soldiers in the midst of Sarge. And I never really took time to break, because sometimes, people, they might miss it. But I never really took time to break down what I was talking about. And that's pretty much what I'm saying. You're gonna die. Like you said, you're about to die or somewhat be vulnerable and expose yourself to scrutiny, but you do it anyway. And
Yeah.
it's somewhat what I'm speaking about, a mirage, you're going through a desert, you see it's a mirage. It's sabotage because there's nothing really there. It's just your mind
Mm.
playing. And I suppose what the scene in my head when I thought about like say push it to the forefront like soldiers in the midst of Sarge was somewhat to do with I think it was the World War II, something to do with England in the World War II. And there was this place, think it's called Dunkirk or something like that. But
Hmm.
basically, they were literally sending soldiers down there to die for no reason, and they had to go because they were given an order, and that's what I had in my head at the time, from the came to me at my head, and that's what inspired me to write that line. And so, again, it's like you know what's gonna happen. You know you're about to die, but you have to fall in your sword anyway because this is what honor, this is what is demanded of you in this time,
Yeah.
and there's no way around it because you would never forgive yourself. You know, it's interesting to break down. Um, let's see if I can remember the other points. But yeah, that what you said, it really stood out to me. I can't quite remember what I was going to say about the rest of them, but I'm sure they'll
if
come back
it
to me.
if it comes back, just jump in.
I will, I will. But now you just you broke down some things that people don't necessarily take take attention and really peak game and look into. So for me personally, yes, this is the other thing I wanted to say. Um, Somebody asked me once, what's your thought process? What do you think about when you think about writing poetry? And I guess I was just there were so many ways to go, so many ways to kind of break it down. But the best way I could think of was I said in reply, if you think about a scientist in a lab and they take a splice, a strain of something, like an animal cell or something, and just splice it onto, and then they put it underneath the magnifying glass. And then I pretty much said, okay, now think about an emotion, and you cut a piece of it, and you put an emotion underneath a magnifying glass, and that's pretty much what you're speaking about when you talk about poetry, in terms of bringing it to life and just pretty much telling people what's there.
And not only that, but like thinking about it,
Mm.
thinking about it happens in two stages. Like you have the idea and you think about it a little bit.
Yeah,
But the most important thing is once you feel the idea, you have to stop thinking and you just have to go. And you have to write a lot of garbage
yeah,
to get to the good stuff. So you stop thinking, you go off of like it's kind of like just a part of you. It's in your DNA.
yeah,
The thing that you want to write about, you've thought about it. Maybe it's an experience you had, maybe it's an observation you had, um, and your feelings about it, and then you just go and you write and you write and you write and then you don't think about it again until you come back for the second draft.
yeah,
You don't think about it
yeah.
again until you edit and you mark all the places that you know that you need, at least how I do it. Like I mark all the places that like need to be fixed. I think
Mm.
about it again and then once I go to those places I just write because even in the editing process I work at a library, all right?
Yeah,
Most of my editing, like once I did like the first round of editing, you get to those points where I really like this part
mm.
and I really like this part, but I don't have a bridge to link these two ideas together.
Yeah,
And I'd be like, I'd sit in front of my computer for like 4 hours the night before, and like yeah, I can't
mm.
force it to happen. But
Yeah,
then the next day, I'm in the stacks and I'm putting books back on the shelf and
yeah.
it hits me.
It hits you. Yeah,
And like I wasn't even thinking about it.
yeah,
Like, I was in nonfiction shelving books on expansion into the west of the United States. And it hits me and I pull out my phone and I write and
yeah.
I write the whole thing down and then I email it to myself and I'm like, okay, I got the bridge. I'll be able to like put it together. But it's so funny about how the process of creation takes place
Yeah,
because yeah, you got to think about it, but a lot of the magic happens in the flow. And I
yeah.
think that's for anything. You hear athletes talk about being in the flow,
In the flow. What
where
about
and to me, I think the way that we kind of like I would think the world kind of like looks at sports and deifies
mm.
the idea of the professional athlete that we also forget of the art of physical movement. There's a reason why a lot of like and football with the pigskin, not football the rest of the world, but football America, United States, is a lot of those like big dudes like they were really good at like they're really big, they're really fast, and they're agile. A lot of them took ballet because they knew the importance of dance and all of
Yeah,
that. And like to me, I think even sports itself is an art. There's a reason why in fighting combats you call it martial arts.
yeah,
Because it's a way of like just beautiful movement with your body. That was one of the reasons why I think why I still watch sports is I don't even have a team anymore because that's just stuff like I can't put the trust of my happiness in the
yeah,
hands of some stranger that I'll never meet. But like I can watch a game and I can appreciate both like everybody doing what they have to do in their movement. I just find that beautiful. Um I'm just a big fan of art in general and I
mm.
think the pinnacle of any society, like if a society really wants to progress
Yeah,
and move forward, then they need to give the appreciation to the arts. They need to support artists and they
yeah,
need to create a space that allows art to thrive. And I think the decline of any society is one that diminishes what art is capable of doing.
Absolutely. And I have to commend you because you made a brilliant observation. Sports is art to me.
Yes,
It is
it
art to me.
absolutely is.
People don't realize, when you think about angles, movement, and that's why biomechanics is a thing in the first place, because
Hmm.
movement predicts results, whether it's efficient, whether it's inefficient, so many different things, degrees. It's and so maths is somewhat, because and it reminds me as well because I remember I went to a special event, and this was a poet. I can't remember his name, but he's actually a physicist. But he's having, but he put his knowledge of physics into his poetry. You get what I
That's
mean?
awesome. That's awesome.
You get what I mean? It's
That
just
would be
like
some complex poetry right there.
some complex poetry, right? But it's still talking about it's still just another poet, but it's just coming from his viewpoint, and
Hmm.
he just knows how to kind of to unwrap it and share the art behind it. I think people miss a lot of this. One, like for example, if you think about sprinting, um, all sprinters like just going about running and sprinting especially, because I'm quite savvy with it, the understanding of it. A lot of sprinters, it's all about angles.
Hmm.
It's all about breaking down your movement. It's all about efficiency. It's all about just doing enough, just doing it right, and almost your input being efficient. Everything is to do with movement. It's to do with you know um, covering ground, and then that brings in the maths aspect where it's all about numbers. You've got
Hmm.
to know, okay, what am I doing over 10 meters? The first 10 meters, second 10 meters, first 30, first 40, first 50. And, then you go back, you look at your race, and then it's like, okay, um, what was I doing between the first 30 and the 60? It's pretty much you looking at every 10 meters is pretty much what they do, and they break down angles, and you have to look at the numbers because the numbers tell a tale in itself. And so, and the only way to make the numbers better is to make the art better.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Well, I mean, even when you talk about movement, even like art itself, even in the written word or the spoken word or painting, like the movement is the occupation of space.
Yes,
You know, whether you're occupying the space with the stroke of paint or filling the space with the sound of your voice or filling the space of a once empty page, which to me is the most daunting thing to like look at. My favorite quote about writing is from Taika Waititi. He's like, sometimes writing is opening your laptop and staring at a blank page for 8 hours and then closing it without ever writing a word and you're crying.
absolutely,
Sometimes that's writing.
absolutely. And for me, what I've found as well, I suppose it's two ways to go. In certain instances, it is just sitting down and figuring out. But and then there's and I call that the process of internalizing or
Hmm.
internalization. But another way you do that is you have a conversation.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now, this is pretty much the somewhat of the foreplay, somewhat, because now this sets you up to actually just go straight to writing.
Yeah.
When I look to go create now, I don't need to. There's no need for foreplay. There's no need for thought for internalizing because this is why I appreciate having this space because these are the conversation that create art in the first place.
Totally. Totally. And conversation in itself is a as an artistic form of expression.
Absolutely,
If it, for us as, as we're participants in this dialogue together, but for any other person out there that would be listening to this, people that we would never even meet.
Absolutely. You know,
So
so man, it's been great to have you on. Truth be told, you know, I had a plan, but that was I normally go if um but sometimes I could see where I might have to throw the plan out the window, and this is one of these occasions where I had to just let the
I
conversation
did that.
go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I did that. I do that with inner monologue too. I let the energy. I'm a big Taoist, so I have flow with the direction that the energy is going. Can I just say, like, if people are interested in the book 2012, A Bicycle Odyssey, I did along with a friend a 7,000 mile bicycle ride across the United States for suicide awareness and the healing power of art. You could find that book. Go to my website, risephoenix.org. It's got info about the podcasts and a link to buy my book, 2012, A Bicycle Odyssey.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
Alex, thank you so much. Like, this has been like the best morning coffee I've ever had. I've had like in a long, long time. This conversation has
Yeah,
been so fulfilling and energizing, and I really appreciate you
man.
having me on the show.
It was a blast, man. It was a blast having you on. As soon as we started talking, you know, the light bulb switched. I was like, okay. You know, so I appreciate having you on, man. It'd be great to have you on in the future, hopefully sometime soon, and we can kind of
Yeah,
break down a lot more of this talk that we're having because you know we barely scratched the surface. I'm aware of that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm down for a part two, three, whatever.
Absolutely, man. Let's keep in touch,
And,
and
yeah,
I'll be sure to keep your bring your information and about the book as well, where people can find it on the episode, which will be out soon.
awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Alex. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep writing. Keep speaking.
Thanks so much, man. Till next time, take care.
Mind over matter, overcompensating, overstatements, crookedness relating, a soul's churn in return, mental overstimulation, one word, riveting, it tells my pilot. Streams that are promised to make seeking less,